Hi, Tosh.
Hey.
Thank you for playing Mike today for
Sure.
my midterm.
Uh-huh.
All right. Let's start with I sent you an email, and there are 5 documents in the email.
Okay.
Mike is my buyer, which you're being your Mike.
Okay.
And if you have any questions that Mike would have, go ahead and ask them.
Okay.
Um, we're going to review all the 5 documents. I'm going to kind of walk you around. And the scenario is Mike found a house and we're putting in an offer.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, uh, first thing I want you to do is click on the email. And number 1 is the 1 to 4 residential contract. So congratulations on putting in we're getting ready to find a house and we're putting in an offer. Okay, I wanted to go through the offer with you.
Mhm.
Okay. I want to talk about this. This is the first thing is when you look at the contract, part number 1 on the very first page is parties. And here is where we're gonna list the names of the buyer, which is you, and the seller, John Rivers. And it just, all this does is identify who's in the contract. All right. The property in section 2, it describes it's legal description. And section 3 is the sales price. Um, this is basically just showing how you're going to pay for the home and what price you're willing to pay. And what we're doing is $150, $150,000, not 150 because then I would buy it. All right. Um, we could move down, right? And because this is VA, we're adding something called a third party addendum. VA usually is 100% guaranteed loan. So what you'd be bringing to the table at closing would be 0. Okay. We move over into section 5, which is where we're going to talk about the earnest money and option money. That was something that we had gone over a little bit yesterday. And I wanted to take a second to talk about that. So, option fee, $250 is what we're putting down. The option fee is paid directly to the seller. This fee gives the buyer unrestricted right to terminate this contract during this option period. This is the buyer's inspection window. So the buyer can walk away for any reason. If they don't like the color, it doesn't matter. The only thing that would be lost is the option fee. Okay. The key points to this is this option fee is paid directly to the seller. You know, it's due within 3 days. It is non-refundable, but this is only if you only lose this if you choose to walk away. All right. Now the earnest money is held by and paid to the escrow, the title and put into escrow. This is basically the buyer's good faith deposit showing that they're serious about actually purchasing the home. It's also has to be delivered in the 3 days to the title company, and you won't lose this if as long as we stay within the contract. You'll get this back or it'll go towards your closing costs, but one way or you don't lose this.
Okay.
All right. Then we move on to the title and the title policy survey. Section 6, the seller is going to pay for the title policy and the title company's land exchange. The seller has 10 days to provide an existing survey, and you have 7 days to review the title commitment and object if anything that affects your intended use as a single family home. Okay, I guess how I would explain this is, let's say you're buying the property to not live there. Let's say you're buying the property for commercial use, but it isn't zoned commercial use. This is out in the contract. So if you go in to the title company and title company says, "Hey, it's not zoned for that," you have the right to walk away from the property. You have the right to, retract your offer and not lose your earnest money.
That information wouldn't be available for me to see before we move forward to all these contracts being drawn up.
Uh, Title policy. No, we would have to we have to. That's why it says that the seller has to pay for the title policy.
Okay.
And once we get and if they don't, they have 7 days. I mean, we have 7 days. We've got a little bit of time, and so that we can make any objections beforehand. Okay. Property number 7 is property condition. You have the right to inspect the property. The seller's got to keep on the utilities. You'll receive a seller's disclosure unless you're exempt. You're buying the home as is, but you can still inspect and negotiate repairs. The lender requires repairs um, and no one agrees to pay the contract, then the contract could terminate. The seller is actually contributing $600 towards anything, like maybe you could use it towards paint, maybe something is wrong with the door handle or whatever. So the seller is already saying, hey, I'm putting $600 towards this. Okay. In section 8, it basically just discloses the relationship, you know, all the brokers fees are handled separately. Closing says we've got to close on or before 45 days, which puts us at, I think, May 11th, right? Look on here. Yeah. Jennifer Marshall. Yeah, May 11th, 45 days from today. Uh, then we move on to, we're going to move on to title policy, property condition. Uh,
It should be on section 8.
8.
8.
Yep.
Which is broker and sales agents.
Yeah. 1 second. I'm sorry, Tasha. My papers are all messed up. Well, none of this is applicable to us, but it's just Texas law requires a real estate broker or sales agent who is party to the transaction or acting on behalf. We have to disclose that. So if your mom or your brother or something is a real estate agent, this is the section that we would have to disclose that we're related to you or whatever. Okay, so the closing is actually 5/10/26. Possession, buyer possession is going to take possession upon closing and funding. There are no special provisions. And in the settlement and other expenses, the buyer has I'm sorry,
Okay.
supposed to be the seller has agreed to pay 3% of the sales price. So in this thing, we're telling them that they need to pay the 3%, which is the commission
It
that
does
we
say that.
talked about. Yes.
Section A1 says
Yes.
sellers shall pay the following expenses. And
Correct.
subsection B says
Yes.
3% of the sales price. Yes.
Okay. And page number 8 just basically gives you who it is, in care of Mike. All the information, where copies of all of these things are going to go to, the agreement of the parties. Now, there'll be a couple addendums. One of them is going to be a third party financing addendum. One is going to be a non-realty item addendum about a refrigerator, but we're going to go over that in 1 second. And the last page is that it was executed on the 27th of March. So this is basically the first day of the contract that we send in. If they choose to accept this contract, it starts today.
So this
Okay.
subsection 23 says consult an attorney before signing.
Yes, we will. Yeah, we're going to cover that in 1 second. Yeah. So then we're going to go over to non-realty items and addendum. That should be in your email.
Okay.
It says non-realty items and addendum.
Mhm.
Okay. This form just covers personal property that the seller is agreeing to leave behind.
Okay.
Okay. Uh, that's not a part of the house itself. The seller is agreeing to leave the white LG refrigerator side by side that's inside the kitchen. So the seller is not taking that, and that's why we need this form so that we could legally accept that.
Okay.
All right. Then we're gonna let's go to third party financing addendum.
Okay, page 2.
Okay. This addendum explains your VA loan and gives you 18 days to get full loan approval. It also protects you if the VA appraisal comes in low or if the property doesn't meet the VA standards. You're not required to close unless the home qualifies and the lender approves you. Okay, so that's what this addendum is saying. This addendum saying is that you're applying for a VA loan, $150,000 for 30 years. Okay, and it gives you 18 days to go ahead and get approved fully for it.
Okay.
Okay, now the VA will then conduct an appraisal. If the appraisal does not comes in low, or if the property doesn't meet the VA standards at that point, you could choose not to close, or we could renegotiate the contract for you.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. The next one is, let's talk about the inspector form,
Inspector form, page 4.
page number 4.
Okay.
Mhm. This form really is it's just a form that tells you that you can choose whatever inspection or inspection company that you would like. The ones that we tell you about or we show you are just people that we have used in the past. This form just tells you that, hey, it's your right to pick whatever inspector you want to pick. If you want to go with the ones that we're going to do, we use, that's great. If you want to use one that you prefer to use, or because you've done this before or whatever reason, then you go ahead and you use that one. So this is just telling you that we have nothing to do with the inspection or the inspector. All we're doing is providing you a resource. Then we move on to the TILA, which is the fifth one, which is the fifth form in the email. You there?
Yep.
All right. Honestly, the TILA is just authorization for it's the authorization that allows the lender and the title company to share like information, personal information, disclosures, things like that with Mike. So all it is it's like an authorization to release. It's a release of information form. That's like when somebody goes and gets your medical records, you have to authorize them to. The TILA is the same thing, but
Yes.
for
Okay.
real estate. You have to, and that's basically it. Now we go ahead and we submit all these papers. Did you have any questions about like option fee, earnest money? Did you have any questions about any of that?
Not that I can think of right now. Everything seems pretty straightforward.
Okay. And this is an offer. They would have to, if they accept this offer, we then are under contract. And at that point, we move on to a different section of this.
Okay.
But for right now, we're going to submit. This is what we want. This is the price we want. We're offering you. If we can meet and we have 18 days to get our loan fully approved,
Mhm.
and we can get, I really want your property. But I also have this option fee in that says, hey, I've got this many days. I think it's 7 days to decide whether I don't even have to give you a reason. I can just walk away because I'm giving you this option fee money.
So on the third party financing addendum,
Mhm.
and that would be page 2. Would this be different if I was pre-approved through the bank? Because
I think there is a difference between pre-approval and underwriting.
mm, okay.
Okay. Pre-approval is a soft credit pull,
Mm-hmm.
okay, where they check a little bit of your finances. That's why they give you 18 days to get full loan approval, because when they do a pre-approval, it's mostly like a soft credit pull. They're making sure you're employed, they're making sure you have, the money. They're making sure, like in your case or in Mike's case, it's a VA thing. So they're going to make sure that he has his VA certificate that shows that he is backed 100% with a VA loan. So there's a difference between pre-approval and under, like, approval, full loan approval.
Okay, I understand. Okay.
Okay. Did you have any other things that popped out at you?
Um, no, however, usually questions come to me later after I've cooked
Okay.
on my information. But
That's okay, but you can always send me an email, send me a text, and I'll do my best to get back with you
okay,
as soon
perfect.
as I can. Okay? Thank you
So,
so much for your time. And let's try to get this house and let's get this deal going so that we can get this $150,000 house under a VA loan with no more than 4% interest rate, because those are your terms.
in a perfect
Okay?
world, that's
All
right.
right.
Right, thanks.
Thanks.